Hey everyone, how's it going? You are listening to another episode of Read, Watch, Listen on the East Brunswick Public Library podcast network. I'm your host, Chris Barnes, and we're talking about what people like to read, watch, and listen from East Brunswick Public Library. This week, we have a very special guest. The guest is me. Due to some scheduling difficulties, our previous guest had to cancel, so usually I host, but this time I'm going to be telling you what I've been reading, watching, and listening, and how you can find it at East Brunswick Public Library. The first thing that we're going to talk about is what have I read recently that I liked. What I do like to read are graphic novels. I love comics. I love comic art. I love it all. And my latest finish is Bad Weekend by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. They've been putting out an ongoing anthology series called Criminal, which is crime noir stories. Ed Brubaker, you might be familiar with his name, even if you're not too big into comic books, because he created the Winter Soldier storyline that Marvel based its movies on. Bad Weekend is a pretty funny and dark tale. It's about what happens at a comic book convention. I know that doesn't sound like the biggest high crime environment, but it is. We learn about Hal Crane, who was a comic creator from the beginning. He got screwed by a lot of publishers and a lot of his coworkers, and he is planning a major heist at a comic show. All the while, he's going to be accepting a Lifetime Achievement Award, and he's planning on telling off everyone in the industry. It's dark. It's funny. You would love this if this was a movie, and we have it at the library. You can download it on Hoopla Digital as an ebook. Next, for Read, Watch, and Listen, we are going to go to The Watch, and I'm going to recommend a television show that I love. It's called Halt and Catch Fire. There's 4 seasons of it. The library owns the first 2 seasons on DVD. It never got a mainstream 3rd and 4th season DVD release, but you can find it on the usual streaming suspects like Amazon, Hulu, AMC+. Halt and Catch Fire is about the computer industry in the 1980s, and it chronicles 4 coworkers / friends who are hell-bent on making an impact and changing the world. The biggest problem is themselves and when they work together. You know how there's the phrase that there's no I in team? These 4 people, they have an amazingly, beautifully complex and complicated relationship. And if it's not each other standing in their own way, it's themselves. Lee Pace is in it. He is phenomenal as Joe McMillan, who's kind of the straw that stirs the drink in this tech world. It's such a beautifully done show. The creators had 4 seasons to tell a story that spans about 15 or 16 years. So it's very fast paced. There's no wasted time or scenes in it, and it's powerful. There's a lot of really good plot twists and swerves in it, and I love it. It is just so good to watch. And my final recommendation is in the listen category. So I'm very clearly an 80s baby. I turned 40 this year. I'm sitting in my studio with a Transformers coffee mug. I have Star Wars art in front of me. So I'm kind of predisposed like anything from the 80s. So I'm going to recommend Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction that you can find on Hoopla Digital. Now, I know everyone knows every song on Appetite for Destruction. Everyone's been talking about it for almost 35, almost 40 years now. But a couple of years ago, they put out what they called the super duper edition of the album, which meant that there was 5 discs worth of outtakes, bonus material, unreleased versions of songs, early versions, demos, live stuff. If you are a Guns N' Roses completist, you want this version. However, it was limited edition and it was way too expensive for anyone to, put down money on, myself included. So a couple weeks ago, while I was looking for something else on Hoopla Digital, I saw that they had it, and that was immediately one of my monthly download credits. There's over 4 hours of outtakes, live versions. It's one of the greatest rock and roll albums of all times, and now you're going to hear so many different versions of the classic songs. And blows my mind how cool this is. That is something you should definitely check out. I just can't recommend it enough. So that's going to finish it up for this edition of Read, Watch, Listen. I'm Chris Barnes from East Brunswick Public Library. Special thanks to our producer, Melissa Hosick, who's on the other side of the line, editing and making this go up on time. You can find all the information about what we talked about in this week's episodes in the liner notes. You can listen to this on all your favorite podcast formats like Anchor.fm, Spotify. You know the deal. We have tons of great podcasts, other Read, Watch, Listens for you to check out. We have program reviews, a ton of great stuff and audio content. We're always adding new stuff, so make sure you like and subscribe. For the latest information about what's going on at East Brunswick Public Library, check us out online at www.ebpl.org. And for Chris Barnes, thanks for listening.